that I've led over my career. And so hearing that and leaving that type of legacy, that hopefully some of the ways that I led is instilled in some of the future leaders or current leaders that we have. But I think more importantly to me is the legacy that I leave for my family and my kids. Right now, I'm writing down my military story, my memories, and because I want them to have that after I'm gone. I was fortunate enough to be selected, and I'm on the Hall of Fame wall for the Wisconsin Military Academy because of my accomplishments, which is great. And I hope my grandkids go see that after I'm gone and remember Grandpa. But instilling in my boys, I have 2 sons, responsibility, good work ethic, be a family, a person, be a good father, eventually be a good grandfather, be a great son, be responsible, honest, loyal, help people out. That's the legacy that I'm hoping I'm leaving with my 2 boys and my family.
That's awesome. I love that you're writing down your stories. I wish I had my grandfathers.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah. My wife and I have talked that we don't know how our parents met. We don't know where they lived and all that type of stuff. So we're making it a point. And we even thought about, maybe that's a business that my son should do. He was in the videography of getting those stories for people, especially military people, because it's so close to my heart. But, learning about your parents and, how they got together. So we're leaving that for our kids too. We want them to know how I met Jill and she met me and where we lived and what we did for jobs. And right now, like I said, I'm focusing on my military story from 1987 until I retired, and I'm writing that down so they have that forever.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I had one grandfather Army, one grandfather Navy, and I know very little.
Yeah,
my grandfather that was Army, Purple Heart survivor. I saw all his medals. Yeah, don't know what a single one of them meant because he wouldn't talk about it.
Yeah, and that reminds me of one story. My task force commander, when we were in Iraq, when we were writing the end of tour awards for these soldiers, he was adamant and demanding that we put in their awards exactly what that soldier did. How many missions they went on, how many IEDs they encountered, every detail that we could. He goes, Mike, because these soldiers will go home and many of them won't tell their family what they did. So when their family member picks up that sheet of paper, they can read. And I actually had a family member approach me. He goes, I never knew what my son did in Iraq until I read his award. Mm-hmm. I was like, holy shit, we did it right.
Yeah. Yeah. Like literally, I know the only story I know of was from my grandma because my grandpa would never say it. Yeah. And he was, fresh 18, 19-year-old, just going out there into the Korean War. Yeah. And, he's down at training, and I don't even know what fort he was at. But he's from Illinois, and his platoon sergeant happened to be from the same hometown. And he knew where that unit was going.
Okay.
And he pulled him aside and actually gave him a different position. And I don't know, you may know, but at that point in that genre of our history, he was a triangulator. So he didn't end up going on the front lines. He was helping triangulate where the enemy fire was coming from and whatnot.
Could have saved his life.
It did save his life. Yeah. And that's why I'm here today.
Yeah.
That's the only story I know.
Isn't that something? Yeah. I know there's ways you can dig into that stuff, but that's just an incredible story right there. I mean, the little bit that the reason that you are here is because of a decision that somebody made that affected where your grandfather went.
Yeah.
And there's millions of stories out there like that we just don't know about.
Yeah. And some will, have already died, right? Those stories have already died because the last person that knew it is in the ground. Yeah. And that's the beauty of the age that we live in. And the reason I've started this podcast, even when I had the financial firm, was my marketing guy who's the Air National Guard guy I told you about, was telling me all the marketing reasons that we start a podcast. And I say, yeah, those are all good. Here's the reason I'm going to do it. Because I got to have a purpose behind if I'm going to be passionate about doing something. Said, because we were in financial planning, so we dealt with death, with life insurance and stuff of that nature. And I was like, my kids will always have my voice if I do this.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're in that age right now, if you have a thought to start a podcast, if you have the thought to get on YouTube, if you have the thought to write on your social media, do it.
Yeah.
Start a newsletter. Write down your reflections like you're doing with your military story, because we're 2 generations from being forgotten.
Yeah.
And that's how it's always been throughout the history of time. But not today.
Right.
The book I wrote, my kids will always have that. And I'm recording it on audio now. So anything that ever happens to me, they'll have my voice.
Exactly.
That'll live into perpetuity. So my great-great-great-great-grandchildren may know my thoughts.
Yeah.
And we can do that today where our previous generations couldn't.
It's funny you mentioned the podcast. I've got a good friend in Indiana, and he and I are literally, we just bought our equipment and we're going to do a podcast. And it's just going to be we're going to talk a little bit about politics, sports, life, family, just whatever we think of. And he and I, we've talked about doing this for years, and we're going to start it. We're going to hopefully kick things off next month.
Well, a little advice, get at least, how often are you going to release? Weekly, monthly?
Right now, we'll probably go twice a month and then hopefully increase as, we get familiar and better at it.
So I've told everyone this that that has thought about starting a podcast or told me they're going to. I said, get at least 10 recorded so that you don't feel the pressure of getting guests on and stuff of that nature. So you have a little bit of a backlog as you go forward. So little advice, and anyone listening, hopefully they can get into that as well. But you don't need a fancy setup like I have to do it.
Yeah.
You can get it, just behind the camera. It's more about your words and the message that you're trying to get across or the niche you're trying to be in than it is about having a fancy setup. You can always upgrade.
Right.
So that's really good. So last question I always ask is, what's an unpopular belief that you hold that most others disagree on? Could be on anything we talked about or whatever comes to your gut.
I don't think we ever landed on the moon.
Me neither. I was literally just in an argument with this the other day. What's your thoughts on it? What are your questions?
I think it was all staged because we were in a race with the Soviets and because of Chappaquiddick and whatever other reason. I'm sure there was some monetary reason that some politician had it. But I listened to an interesting podcast. Joe Rogan had a gentleman on. I think his last name's Gentile, I believe. I'd have to look that up. But they were talking about Stanley Kubrick and the lenses that were used in Eyes Wide Shut, and how did Kubrick have those when he filmed that?
This